I'm Matt Bersinger.
And I'm Elon Sherman.
And this is Channel 212 News. Grain crisis.
North Dakota.
The fast pace of energy exploration in North Dakota is creating a crisis for farmers whose grain shipments have been held up by a vast new movement of oil by rail, leading to millions of dollars in agricultural losses and slower production for breakfast cereal giants like General Mills. Although the energy boom in North Dakota has led to a 2.8% unemployment rate, which is the lowest in the nation. What do you think, Elon?
I do like my Cheerios. Agriculture was North Dakota's #1 industry for decades, representing a quarter of its economic base, but recent statistics show that oil and gas have become the biggest contributors to the state's gross domestic product, or how much a place produces in some amount of time. To do this, you need to add up consumer spending, investment spending, government spending, and the value of exports, and subtract the value of the imports.
Railroads have long been the backbone of North Dakota's transportation system and the most dependable way for farmers to move crops. These crops are moved to ports in Portland, Oregon, Seattle, and Vancouver, from which the bulk of the grain is shipped across the Pacific to Asia, and to East Coast ports like Albany, from which it is shipped to Europe.
Furthermore, North Dakota's largest railroads has a backlog of 1,336 cars waiting to ship grain and other products across the U.S. Another railroad, Canadian Pacific, has a backlog of nearly 1,000 cars.
That's pretty crazy, Elon.
I know.
For farmers, the delays often mean canceled orders from food giants that cannot wait weeks or months for the grain they need to make cereal or bread. A farmer from North Dakota stated in an interview, "I'm losing money, and my customers are turning to other sources as a result. I don't know how much longer we can survive like this." A recent study conducted by North Dakota State University found that rail congestion could cost farmers in the state more than $160 million because a local oversupply of grain has forced lower prices.
Food companies say that they're feeling the effects of the delayed shipments. General Mills told investors in March that it had lost 62 days of production, as much as 4% of its output. In the quarter that ended in February because of the winter logistics problems, including a rail car congestion. In its earnings report this month, Cargill, another Minnesota-based food giant, reported a drop in net earnings that it attributed in part to higher costs related to rail car shortages.
Farmers and agricultural groups say rail operators are clearly favoring the more lucrative transport of oil. All in all, the rail companies are hoping to add staff and more cars in order to lessen the surplus and distribute all wheat products in a timely manner.
Let us now turn to our economist, Ms. Katie Reese, who has more statistics on the grain crisis at hand.
Hi, I'm here to tell you about the grain problem in North Dakota as it relates to economy. So, what's happening with the grain is it cannot get to the market due to the fact that railroad companies would rather transport oil over grain. The reason is because the oil has a higher return rate than grain does. Because grain had a lack of transportation from the farm to the cereal company, there was a lack of technology. Therefore, the supply shifter of technology has caused the supply curve to shift to the left. Overall, this concept seems confusing because there is an excessive amount of grain. There are piles of grain, thus it seems as if there would be a surplus. However, this is not the case because the lack of technology or lack of rail cars is causing the shortage of supply to the consumers. The grain that is waiting for transportation is nothing, and farmers are losing their money in valuable products. Now comes the question, why is there a lack of technology? The answer in economic terms is returns from alternate activities. The rail companies are turning to oil to transfer over grain because North Dakota is expanding on energy exploration. Rail companies are receiving more money for transporting oil than they are for grain. Therefore, being that North Dakota is exploring deeper into energy, the supply shifter returns from alternate activities causes the supply of oil to shift to the right. In larger terms, there is more quantity supplied to consumers at a lower price, and that is beneficial for both the suppliers and the consumers. All right, now I'm going to take you right on back over to Matt and Elon for the next segment in our show.
That's some very interesting information, Matt.
And now we'll send things over to Grace in the field for a live interview.
Grace Carrick here in North Dakota with Farmer Casey. So Casey, how has the shortage of rail cars been affecting your business?
Well, the shortage of rail cars has been tough on us farmers here in North Dakota because this year and in the past we've really been putting out a lot of crops, and this year we're supposed to have our highest yield of crops in the wheat, corn, and soybean industry. So without these rail cars, a lot of those crops are going to waste, and it's a waste of our money, and it's a waste of materials that could be used in many industries all across the country.
Interesting. So, how do you think this crisis is going to be solved?
Well, I think that some steps have been taken to fix the crisis. I mean, I know government cooperation is going to be needed, and as well as the railroad industries as well, because more cars are going to be needed. Obviously, oil is a major export for North Dakota at this point, but our agricultural industry cannot be overlooked, and I think all parties need to be involved if steps are going to be taken to solve this problem.
Thank you, Casey. Now back to Matt at the station. So, how do you think this crisis is going to be solved?
Well, I think that some steps have been taken to fix the crisis. I mean, I know government cooperation is going to be needed, and as well as the railroad industries as well, because more cars are going to be needed. Obviously, oil is a major export for North Dakota at this point, but our agricultural industry cannot be overlooked, and I think all parties need to be involved if steps are going to be taken to solve this problem.
Thank you, Casey. Now back to Matt at the station.
Thanks, Grace. And that concludes our broadcast for tonight. Thanks for tuning in.
And we'll see you tomorrow night on Channel 212.